Well, the first guest on today's podcast is no stranger to the Austin rugby scene. He's been around. Well, actually, he and one other person have been around since the beginning. Actually, since back technically in the Huns days, or the Huns Elite days when they won the national championship. I'd like to welcome to the podcast for the first time, which is pretty sad because it has been 3 years. The first time onto the podcast, Mr. Mason Pedersen. Mason, how's it going, man?
It's going well. It's been a nice day. It's nice and sunny outside. Can't complain.
Yeah, no, we're out of the snow that was here. Was it last week or so, and into some little nicer weather. So we had our one to 3 days of winter, right?
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's nice that it wasn't on a day that we needed to be outside. So we got outside on Saturday, and then snow came on Sunday, and then Monday it was all gone. So yeah. Can't complain.
Awesome. Hey, so we talked about it offline for a second there, and I did just mention it. It has been 4 years, right? 4 years that you've been in Austin, or were you in Austin before that Huns Elite team that won the national championship?
No, it's 4 years almost to the week right now. So January of 2017. So
yeah. And the changes that you've seen in 4 years with the Austin professional side. Do you want to kind of go through that in about 2 minutes?
2 minutes, short time. No,
just kidding, man.
There's been a lot of change between personnel, either front office, owners, coaches, staff, everything, players, all the way down to the bone. So from where we train to what we have now to where we even play, it's been 3 venues now, four venues.
4 venues, yeah.
Yeah, and almost a backtrack and then 4th venue. So yeah, it's been crazy. It's been fun to watch. We started out with the Huns back at Nixon Lane, and then moved with the Elite, still training out there, but playing up in Round Rock at the multipurpose complex, and kind of taking that massive step the next year and getting on a facility and moving into Dell Diamond, which was a cool place to play, but kind of weird and quirky and not the easiest visually or or best for actual rugby, but it was kind of cool to take the next step up. The staff was first class and the whole facility was, the grass down to the people who ran the locker room.
Yeah.
So, and then kind of to take that next step in with Gilly coming on board and bringing some capital and moving us down to Coda. And yeah, it's been a wild ride, and to see some of the people coming back now kind of shows you how far we've come.
Yeah.
Guys leave and come back. It's a pretty special place to be.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I think that you'll see that this year. There's multiple boys coming back, so that's definitely a positive. So yes, me and Zenny are the only 2 left from the first year, or from the beginning.
From the beginning.
In essence, we've been through it all, but there is guys coming back that have been gone for a couple of years, which will be kind of fun.
Now you said guys. We know one, and Patty Ryan. Are you saying there's others that are coming back that are you going to get in trouble now?
No, I think that we'll see what happens, and then definitely think that there's stuff to come along the way, and I'm not spilling any beans.
You don't want to be that guy, right?
No, definitely not. I'm not ruining anybody's moment.
I know a couple people in the social media department that may have something to say about that.
Yeah. Well, I'm not the most filtered person, so they know that.
There you go. Well, so it's been right. So you've had a pretty great career. I mean, you've been around. I mean, you were around in pro rugby a little bit too with San Diego when you were younger, correct? Yeah, you've kind of worked your way all the way around. I mean, from an early age, you were under 19 or under 20 USA Eagles.
Under 20.
Under 20. I can never remember if it's 19 or 20. So under 20 USA Eagles. You've been part of pro rugby. You've won a national championship with the Huns, and then 4 years. Like that's a lot of you. You're a pretty young guy still. I mean, for the most part, you're what, 24?
Yeah, I just turned 24 in September.
24. So. Congratulations on. Oh, you're young. So you're 24, but you've done a lot. Do you feel like you are now like a seasoned veteran Do you feel like, you've got Jamie McIntosh from Whopper up there who's had a few more games than you have, but still, like, you're one of the most seasoned players in the league when it comes to especially the prop position.
Yeah, like it's definitely been a wild ride. I think that I got set up luckily enough that I had a good core rugby upbringing in the same sense. Like I didn't start till high school, but my first coach was Gavin Hickey,
Mm-hmm.
who is now the coach at Navy, and then Ray Egan took over, who's the was my head coach in San Diego. So those are my two first coaches in high school. So to just start with that is massive
Yeah.
compared to most kids in America. Definitely getting first class coaching straight from the beginning. So, but no, I definitely feel like it's been a while now. It's going on year 6 of just playing rugby. Um, Definitely can't complain. I'm lucky enough to be there. Like definitely came through at the right time.
Yeah.
I remember getting off the plane in Atlanta from Zimbabwe with the U20s and getting a message if I wanted to go play pro rugby. Landed in Arizona, took my finals the next day, and the next day I packed up my stuff and was on the plane to San Francisco to play a game. So
Yeah.
it all happened real fast. And sometimes I could take a look back at it and be like, dang, it's been a while now.
Yeah.
But definitely a good ride. I have the best job in the world. I can't complain.
Was there any, when you were coming off of that championship in Zimbabwe, as you were playing there and getting ready to go, was there any like hope to go play Premiership, go try to play in Southern Hemisphere or anywhere else, like just to we'll just say anywhere in Europe really to play rugby? Because at that time, there was nothing. Before pro rugby, lasted that first year, there was nothing in the U.S. I mean, the Premiership of the U.S. at that particular time, but that was the highest level. Was there any drive or any consideration to go play overseas?
Yeah, that's ultimately still the goal. I went to school earlier on that year in 2016. I went and did or I guess 2015. I went to Leicester and did a semester out there, and that was quite cool. I got
Nice.
to live in a big rugby city and kind of see it from the ground up. That was always a
Not a
goal.
bad rugby city either.
No, not at all. I used to have a Danish passport as well, so it was definitely the goal.
Yeah.
Um, so it's still the goal. It's definitely still the goal to get overseas,
Yeah.
but now it's a little bit not as time sensitive. It's
Yeah.
when the right opportunity comes, if the right opportunity comes. Whereas back in the day, that was you go to Europe. That was
Yeah.
the goal for every young American. Yes, I wanted to. I didn't think I would thought I would be in school until I graduated, and then kind of go through the club rank, and then try to get overseas or whatever, or try to do as much as possible to get a academy contract or so often. But
Yeah.
obviously, got thrown right into the fire as a 19-year-old playing pro rugby. So that was a good start for me. That competition was still very high level. I
Yeah.
think people forget that. That year was
I know
a
it went.
very good year of rugby.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it did go defunct, and there were all kinds of issues in it, but it was still high quality rugby. It wasn't like it wasn't like you're just throwing a bunch of guys on a field and just hoping for the best. Like there's still a lot of people who are currently playing in MLR and around the world who played in pro
Yeah.
rugby that year. Now, granted, there's probably more that aren't, but still, there's still that amount, that core group of guys that were playing on the team. So it's not like it was terrible rugby. That's what I think people forget about is that quality level that you were talking about there. So nice.
Yeah, and I definitely got thrown straight into the fire.
You said
Definitely,
a couple
being
days.
19 years old. Yeah, being 19 years old, you don't know what it really is. I never played against men before. Like it was a whole different thing. I've always tried to be physical, so like that was probably my saving grace. In the end of the day, like I am pretty reckless with my body, so it's probably my saving grace. Come then, that I was just trying to do as much as possible and throw my body around as much as I could.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Speak,
was just
Speaking of throwing your body around, you've become pretty, we'll call it social media famous, for you throwing your body around and some of the big hits that you've had in the past couple seasons. Actually, Mr. Dan Power on the previous episode talked about Mr. Basterow and the hit that we had that, well, he called it the hit that shook the rugby world, and the hit heard around the world. And that and the hit you had against Houston, I mean, that instant highlight reel, is that where the nickname the Hitman came about?
Well, it's not me that named it, so
Okay, I
obviously
hope you
something
wouldn't
that
nickname yourself. Like, that's
I woke up to and kind of stuck around obviously our socials definitely, but no, I've always liked to hit. I've always wanted a target on my back. I've always wanted to be the guy that steps up and goes after the biggest person, and it's not going to change this year or next year or the year after that. That's always going to be who I am.
Yeah.
Going into the week, I always said I wanted to step up. I was a prop in the back line of the line out. Like, I always wanted to be manned up on him. That was always the goal.
Yeah.
I wanted to put myself in the position. I always will want to put myself in the position. The bigger the name, the person who probably I want to go after the most. Yeah. That's just always who I am. I'm not going to back down just because I'm a American or I'm a prop or anything like that. So I like to get in niggles. I like to be physical. I like to go after people, obviously in a safe way. I don't want to be getting any red cards or yellow cards or anything, but
yeah.
But that's always the goal. I want to be physical, and that's what I want to bring to the game.
That's awesome. What was it like? Obviously everybody saw the hit on Basterow. Like, it was a highlight reel hit for sure. He came out afterwards and he said, "Yeah, you rocked him." What was it like to have somebody? You played against a lot of big players, and you played against some very well known, very reputable players. What was it like to have somebody like from his status of Basterow status kind of compliment you and say how that it was a big hit and that was something that made an impact on him?
Yeah, well, I talked to him after the game for a second. Very nice guy, very humble. Ultimately, I keep myself to high standards, so those are the guys I want to be playing with week in and week out. That's the goal. So ultimately, yeah, it's good, but ultimately, I expected myself to do that. It wasn't like a surprise to me, where it was a surprise to other people. I went into the week wanting to do that.
Yeah.
It wasn't a surprise. I talked that through. Ultimately, I wish we could have got a penalty out of it the other way, but other stuff happened. But no, I like to talk that stuff into existence, and I want to do that. So it wasn't a surprise to me or anybody close to the team that it happened. Probably more overseas than anything. So hopefully just keep on doing that and making a name for yourself. That's just the goal. Obviously, you want to always make a name for yourself, and I think that doing stuff like that helps. But ultimately, I just want to be a rugby player and be well respected around the league, and then hopefully get higher honors and move on somewhere else after.
I definitely agree. And of course, those of us that have watched you play the past couple of years here in Austin, we know that quality of play. We know that standard that you set yourself to. And you said you want to be a better rugby player. You want to move on. You want to continue to progress. And, recently you've actually been recognized and been, we'll call it moved up to that next echelon and being selected for the player pool for USA Eagles. And even this week, I believe there was an article that came out that had, for the forwards for, you on World Rugby, I think that was where the article was, the next generation of Americans that are going to come through, and talking about the forward pack. And you had Honko, who, former Austin player. And then of course they had you on there as, the next generation of the, in the forward pack that's going to come in and make that impact. What is that like to now have that kind of, you're getting that recognition, you're moving up, you're trying to get to that goal, your goal of being a USA Eagle and playing in a World Cup in 3 years?
Yeah. That's the goal. You said it right there, to play in the World Cup. I think that's every player's goal. It should be.
Yeah.
The biggest thing for me is yes, it's exciting to be getting some recognition and be in the pool and be announced with those guys and stuff like that. But ultimately, the goal is to get capped. And until then, I'm going to keep working. I've been close before. I've been playing A side. Injuries happened. I've been close and sort of taste some success just to kind of take years off again. So I don't want to take it for granted necessarily, but there's still a lot of work to be done. There's still a lot of guys in the position in the country that are doing well. There's one guy playing overseas that's doing really well. So the
Yeah.
goal is to just keep on getting better and tightening up those things and doing what the coaches want to get capped, and then ultimately taking that cap in and turning it into multiples and going to World Cup. That's the goal.
Yeah, I mean, the past couple of seasons, we haven't really had what I call like like a true forwards coach. You now have Jamie McIntosh coming back, who's lining up on the other side, of that front row with you, or at least did for the last couple of games this season. What's it like to learn from Jamie in his experience, and what is his kind of involvement? How has it helped you become a better player?
Well, Jamie's a true professional. Like in everything he does, you'll see him. He writes down notes. He gets on the bike. Like he does all the little things right. So I think that's something that a lot of us can take from him, especially in the forward pack. He's been there, done that. He's played for the biggest teams in the world. He's played in Heineken Cup. He's played in top 14. He's played in Super Rugby. So every little thing he says is gold. I think just listening ultimately and learning from him is the best way. And also, I get to go against him every once in a while, so that's obviously huge in that sense. And just keep working with him, and hopefully, obviously, we win together. And also, he helps me get better as a player. He's got knowledge. He's been with the best coaches in the world. So ultimately, that's the goal, is just to take his knowledge and hopefully take it in and use it on the field.
Yeah. That's great to hear. And of course, when it was announced that he's coming back in that kind of player coach role, it was really exciting. I mean, I'm talked about it on the podcast last week. Really, really excited about not just the re-signings, but the new signings and kind of the depth that we have now. Like there's a depth that we haven't had in the past couple of years, and you've been a part of it, and that we're scrambling at the last minute to try to find some guys to come in season two, and then last year, waiting on visas and things like that. So it's great to hear that people are re-signing and people are joining the club, early, because you guys are, this week everybody comes in. Is that right?
Well, hopefully everybody will be in
Hopefully,
by the
yeah.
end of the week.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. No, I think the end of next week
End
actually.
of next week.
So, but boys are coming in and they're obviously, especially with these times, they're quarantining and stuff and
Yeah.
getting tests done. So we're definitely being safe there. But it is exciting. I think that's been a big problem, and I've voiced that a couple times in the past, that us doing preseason as 15-20 isn't going to win an MLR championship. You're just not going to get to the level you need to. And it ultimately is guys working harder than other guys, and not of their own fault, just because they can't get in visa wise, lawyers, papers. It's not, you can't necessarily put on them, but it wasn't good for the team culture. Guys showing up a week before we play games, guys showing up mid-season. There'll still be guys that maybe show up week 2, 3, 4, but the
Yep.
core squad will be here. The core 30 of us, 35 of us will be here.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately that is so much better. And our coaches are here.
Oh yeah.
They're young, energetic guys that are best friends. So ultimately, we're one big family this year, and I think that that's a big thing that we're trying to push, and I think that that's what's going to push us pretty far.
Yeah.
I think we have good depth, good squad, but that's ultimately what's going to win a championship.
Mason, I appreciate the segue lead in that you had there about, talking about the coaching staff in this year, because that was actually my next question. Obviously, you've been here from the start. There's been ups and downs with coaching, with all kinds of things going on in the back room, but it seems as though since it's been the team's been purchased in the last year, and the changes that happened pretty quickly. There was kind of a lull time last season. It was kind of like, throwing things together at the last minute, trying to get everybody in. But this season, there's been, at least from the outside, there's been organization. You've had these amazing coaches come in. Walk me through kind of your feelings and how it's been, because obviously you could have had the opportunity to go play for LA this year. It existed. It's going back home to play you're from California. What's it been like to actually see the change from season 1 to now, and what's going on with, Sam and Mark and everybody that's coming into the organization to help build a better family, team, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. So ultimately, there's definitely unfinished business for me here. I've been here from the beginning, as you stated earlier on the podcast. I've seen everything, so it'd be harsh to leave now when everything is really starting to kick up, and we go from a team that is looked at as, oh, can we target this game to now we're the ones that are every game we're the target. So
Yeah.
I think that that's the culture that we need to instill, and I think that Sam and Mark are unbelievable. They're very professional. Mark's 2 years out removed from playing rugby. He's still fresh there. Like, he's definitely been there, done that. He played for 15, 16, I think even longer than that, years of professional rugby. He knows what that standard is. Same with Sam. They know the standard. That's the ultimate goal, is just to have a high standard. And I think that's player driven, but also coach driven.
For
in
sure.
the same sense, it's coached from the beginning. It's them doing their job, and then the players also policing themselves. And then that ultimately brings a family. So if you respect one another and we love each other, then I think that ultimately that comes onto the field. You want to play for the person next to you. So that's what we're trying to build. I think that we've shared stories with each other, and we're already pretty close, and we haven't even seen each other on the field yet. So that's a step in the right direction.
Do you think COVID has helped that? Do you think kind of having those intimate, we talked with Christian about it, having those intimate Zoom calls where you're meeting everybody and kind of just sharing about who you are and life and stuff. Do you think that's helped more than in previous seasons and actually being together?
Well, I think that it's helped, but I think it's ultimately it was Sam and Mark that I think they would have done it, COVID or not.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing for them. So I think that that's what they wanted to get done first. They wanted everybody to know everybody deep down, not just on the outside, but also on the inside. So I think that they would have done that probably day one, but because of COVID, it's got us a good start, and Zoom has become a much bigger thing. So it's become much easier to do. And I think that now day one, we already know each other.
Yeah.
It's not showing up and meeting people, handshaking new guys. It's oh, I've met you on Zoom. Now I'm meeting you in person. Now let's get to the job.
Yeah.
And ultimately that's what it is. It's a job, and it's a fun job at that. But it's a job.
That's good. Good to hear. And I think that's, I'm excited for the season, and I know everybody else is definitely excited for the season. I'm glad to hear that you are as well. Looking ahead, I'm gonna throw some questions at you. Some
Okay.
Nothing too crazy, but I'm just curious with a little rapid fire action. Besides Zenny, since you've been roommates with Zenny and you've been playing with Zenny for 4 years, who's been one of your favorite players on the team to play with? Whether it's because he's in the back in the kit room, the back room, or whether or not it's on the field. Who's been one of your favorite players to play with? Showing favorites, and so I don't know if you want to show favorites.
Well, like me and Wap are pretty close. We got pretty close last year. There's a bunch of guys. Anybody that's been here from the beginning. Me and Patty have a good relationship.
Yep.
Like, we had good fun. We've played against each other, played with each other. Yeah, I think that ultimately in the back line, Willie McGee's a little bit of a character. We have fun. We play golf. Like, definitely brought some good to the team. There's a bunch of guys. Me and Christian actually on A-Side Tour, we were roommates, so we go way back as well.
Oh,
weirdly
nice.
enough. So yeah.
What are the odds, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, he told me he's from Austin. I didn't even before that.
Where's Austin?
I knew of Austin, but like I never thought in a million years I'd be living here. So playing rugby. So yeah, it's kind of cool to see him come home, because every time he's come home, I've hung out with him, and now that he's playing with us, it's a pretty cool opportunity for us. Who else? Yeah, I think as a group of boys, we're gonna have a lot of fun. There's a lot of flavor, a lot of different countries, a lot of different people that come from different backgrounds.
And you've got Ramsey too, so he's just he's always a character.
Yeah, well, everybody in Austin that knows Ramsey knows that. That's not a big surprise. He's been around the scene for a long time in this city, so
yeah. He'll be on the podcast next week, so that'll be I may just dedicate a whole hour talking to him. So,
well, if you watch his social media, It's a very fun little watch.
Yeah,
It's very amusing.
here you go. Is your training regimen up to that of Brendan Ram's?
I do not burn 1,600 calories. I've never seen somebody burn 1,600 calories in a workout, but I don't know what he's doing.
I don't think it's really him.
I'll stick to the plan that I'm given, and that's kind of where I'm at.
There you go.
I do what's told, and there's a reason why there's professionals that give us workouts, and I'm the player.
So we talked about people you played with. Think about throughout history, who's a player that you would have loved to scrum down against? Like, who's somebody that you have it like, man, just would have been great just to, on that engage, you go, yeah, I really just want to go head to head with that guy that maybe you never got the chance to, or maybe you have, and who's been your favorite person ever to scrum down against, and who's one that you wish you would have gotten the chance to?
Well, weirdly enough, like the Beast was gonna be a very exciting opportunity. He ended up not playing this last year. We played them, so it's a funny little thing that that was kind of disappointing in the sense I was really looking forward to the challenge. I think that a lot of young tight heads would love to go against him.
Yeah.
You literally saw him months before he was playing in the World Cup final, so
lifting the World Cup final.
Yeah. Weirdly enough, when I was a young kid, I went against Whopper in pro rugby, and we got in a big fight. He split my head open, so it's kind of a funny little story that we're now teammates and stuff. So yeah,
a bit more serendipitous stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, I ultimately think that I wish I would have got the opportunity last year. That would have been fun. He's gone from the league now, but another guy, maybe Joe Moody. Yeah. For some reason, he's always seemed like a guy that just does his job, and he just goes about his business, and that's a guy that I would like to look.
Latest international rumors is he's backing out of his contract, and so maybe, who knows, maybe we'll see him in the MLR sometime soon. How great would that be?
Hopefully, I think that'd be awesome. The bigger names that come, I think the better.
Yeah. Moody and Maller. I heard Maller, or Joe Maller. Like, that would be
no. Oh, that would be cool. I think that he's a character in himself. He's definitely a character.
Joe Maller for sure is definitely. And maybe I thought I saw Moody was like he was gonna try to get a new contract somewhere else, but maybe not. Who knows?
But maybe France makes some money.
Yeah,
Japan.
Exactly. Japan's where a lot of people are going to Japan. So
yeah.
Well, it's
a very nice season.
Yeah, exactly. The 2021 season, we're a couple months away. Like, any kind of parting last thoughts about how you think the season's going to turn out?
I think that people are going to be surprised. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about us this off season, a lot about our name, a lot about who we are, what we're doing. I think ultimately you win games, people forget about the little stuff.
Yeah.
They want to see exciting brand of rugby, and I think that's what we're going to bring. I think we're going to play some very fast-paced rugby, and hopefully throw some big hits in there and do all the basics right. I think that's where it starts, and definitely going to be fun to watch. I think that we're going to win some games, and hopefully it leads to us lifting the shield at the end of the year. That's the goal. I think it went from winning some games last year to now we got a target on our back and we want to win the shield.
Yeah.
That's it.
I would love nothing more than that, as everybody else would, so we can just put it right there in everyone's face. So.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
We greatly appreciate you jumping on the podcast for the first time in 4 years. We'll make sure there's less time in between your next appearances. Mason, greatly appreciate it. We're glad to see you coming back for another season. Glad that you're getting the recognition for the USA Eagles and getting into the player pool, and hopefully you can be an Austin player when you recognize that dream of getting that cap and getting into that World Cup with the Eagles.
Yep, that's the goal. I appreciate you having on. It's been a fun time. I think that hopefully people listen to it and learn a lot from this and kind of watch us this season. I think that we're going to have a fun season and come out Dakota for sure.
Absolutely. Our very own Mason, I'll call him very own because he's been here long enough that he can claim being an Austinite. Our very own Mason Pedersen. Mason, thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.